Hi guys, Spartan765. Today I'm doing a video based upon a comment I got in one of my videos. Chicken Pot Pie 2008 stated that the bolt in my mosin nagant M38, which is this one, is a pre-war bolt. And this is the one with the electro-penciled serial number. That's my M38, as you can see. If you watch my other video, you'll see all the other serials are electro-penciled. Today I'm going to go tell you guys the difference between a war production bolt, which would be these two, and a pre-war production bolt, which would be this one. Now, any pre-war production bolts are made prior to 1938. War production any time thereafter, all the way up to the late 1940s, till the end of the production of the mosin in Russia. Okay, now I'm also going to show you guys the difference here. This bolt here comes from a mosin nagant 9130 X Dragoon converted 9130. Kind of scrambled that up a little bit, but it came from a Dragoon converted 9130. This bolt here has a war production bolt handle, and my Dragoon converted 9130 was made in 1926. Now this is obviously not the original bolt then. Now I'm going to tell you one, this was obviously milled off and restamped with a different serial number. Now I'm going to show you an easy way to tell if you have an original bolt or not. You know, if you got a war production but you want to, I can tell you to show you a way how to tell if the serial number has been scratched off. Now you see on this bolt here on the top how it goes down and then across. Same with this one, how it goes down and it bows like that, like it bows. That's indicating that the original serial number was ground off and restamped. Now if you had one with an original serial number on it, this would go right from here just straight across like that. I don't own a bolt like that, but I have seen them before. They're just straight across. There's no like bow, or there's no dip down like that. See like how this one is bowed too? That's indicating that the original serial number has been ground off. Now, all these bolts during the refurbishment process after World War II in 1945, 1946, the Russians, seeing that they had a shortage of weapons at the beginning of World War II and throughout most of World War II, they kept all of their old rifles and stockpiled them, re-arsenaled them, and refinished them completely. That's why there's so many excellent condition mosins out there, because the Russians were actually preparing for World War III in case something like that broke out. So that's why all the Russian guns are in excellent condition when you get them, because they were all arsenal refurbished. Now, for here we're going to go over the that's the reason why they're all so good. Now we're going to go over the difference between a pre-war and a war production bolt handle. As you'll notice on this war production bolt handle, the bolt arm just goes straight down and over. On the pre-war production bolt handle, there's this fancy little, let's get out of the light there, there's this little, oh god damn it, there we go. There's this little bump right here. See where the little bump is? That's extra machining they did to make it look kind of nice. This bolt handle here is actually for my mosin nagant 9130 1943 war production. But this one here has a Remington stamp on it. So this bolt handle was actually made in America in 1916. This came from a contract rifle from World War I. And obviously the serial number had been ground off and restamped. The rest of this bolt here is all Ishvask. Well, this is Ishvask. Actually, no, this is the Tula bolt head, and the connecting bar is Ishvask. But this just goes to show, I mean, in order to actually find a mosin that has 100% original parts and an original stock, even no matter what year it is, they're actually pretty rare to find. Anything, and any ones that don't, that normally would have the original stocks, like the M91s from the early 1900s, they're hard to find just in general. But as far as bolts go, in 1943, you'd notice a difference, like starting really in about late 1941, 1942, early 1942, you'll see mosins, and you'll start to notice like a slight drop in the quality of the machining on the receivers here. Like here, I got a 1942 M38. You can very clearly see that the machining marks from the lathe and the receiver, this was done to cut time. They didn't take time to smooth it out, make it look all nice, because that took about an extra 3 hours, and they really cut their rifle production like time in half by not doing that. All that is cosmetic. The rifle still works just as good as a different one with perfect machining wood. Here's an example of one with really nice machining on it. No machining marks at all. This is a Dragoon converted 9130 hex receiver. It's nice and smooth and shiny. The low wall receiver. That's another thing. With the War Productions, they didn't take the time to mill this other part out here, so you'll have all mainly high wall receivers for War Production rifles. You know, that's the primary differences there. But as far as bolts go, a lot of people will say on their bolts that they don't have any stamp on their bolt face, just kind of like this one. The Ishvesk Arsenal did not stamp a lot of their bolt arms, and some of them that were stamped, the ones that were stamped were usually stamped very lightly. Here's one that was stamped with an Ishvesk arrow. As you can see here, it's kind of half-ass stamped. And this one here has, I think I saw it somewhere on here, the tip of the arrow right there, very lightly stamped. That's why a lot of them will seem like they don't have stamps on them. Some of them weren't stamped. And when they built these guns in 1943, a lot of these mosin nagants, because they were so short on, you know, parts and labor, and they wanted to cut down the time on production, what they would often do, and they only did this in like 1943, 1944, was they would take parts from other mosin nagants, like one's mosins that, like say, the barrel were bent on or something like that. They'd take the bolts out and put those bolts in the new rifles. So it wasn't uncommon, if you have a rifle from 1942, 1943, that the original bolt it was made with was a bolt from another gun. The reason they did this, like I said, was to increase production time and reduce cost, because they would just take the parts from the broken rifles and put them in the new rifles, the parts that were good anyway, like the bolts, or bolt parts. That's why it is very common to see rifles from that era without the original parts, or what seem to be the original parts. You know, mosin nagants aren't like Mausers. You see a lot of Mausers out there with the same serial numbers on them, or with a Mauser you can't just really swap out bolt parts, because you got to worry about headspace. The only part you have to worry about a headspace is in a mosin nagant is the bolt head itself. Otherwise, the bolt arm, the cocking piece, the connecting bar, the firing pin, the firing spring can all be swapped out with different ones. The only ones you actually have to headspace when you check are the bolt head. With the Mauser, the entire bolt body, you know, which is the main part, which is connected to the bolt head on the Mauser rifle, it's all one unit, unlike the mosin nagant bolt. You'd have to headspace that. That's why you see less Mausers with the different serial numbers. There are certainly a lot of them out there, but not nearly as many as mosin nagants. But if you guys have any questions regarding this video, feel free to send me a message. Oh, hang on, I'm just going to tell you what these bolts are from here again, to alleviate the confusion. This one here is from an an M38 mosin nagant, manufactured in 1942. You know, very well could be that this bolt is not the original, because it's, like I said, bowed down. None of these are original. This is from a 1943 mosin nagant 9130. As you can see, this is obviously not the original because it has a Remington stamp on it. This one here is from a 9130 converted Dragoon, manufactured in 1926. As you can see, this is clearly not the original because of the bow and the bolt body, and it just goes straight down from the bolt arm. Any comments or questions, feel free to send me a message. Spartan765 out.